Mr. James Scarlett, we go again.
Hello, mate. How you doing? We've had some fun and games in the last 10 minutes that people won't know about until I tell them. But yeah, Jesus
The
Christ.
Wi-Fi dramas of Bristol daytime fucking recording. So sort yourself out, Bristol. Otherwise, I'm good. I actually feel genuinely good now. Like over the worst of that shit, that infection and fucking COVID I had. So I'm in a good place. Christmas is coming. I am fucking happy as Larry, as I say. How about yourself?
Good stuff. I am great. Apart from the Wi-Fi and the so I'm my background looks a bit different today because I'm not in my house. I'm in my friend Kate and Tom's house because last night my builders dropped on me at 6 p.m. that we had to be out of our house all day today. And my wife had just agreed to it. And I was like, well, I've got a podcast to record. She's like, oh, just record it a different day. I'm like, okay, it comes out tomorrow. There's no different day. So I'm scrambling around Bristol trying to find good Samaritans. And I'm now set up on Kate and Tom's kitchen table. And we're okay if their Wi-Fi holds.
Well done, Kate and Tom, for saving the day. I would hope we save the day. Mate, how did we manage to sell it 2 days in a tour? We can't get a fucking podcast out with
We're,
absolute panic.
I don't know. We've only missed one. We've missed one. We managed to get there. We haven't got a fucking phone stuck to a window in Mexico, have we? So.
No, we haven't. We made it through. We made it through a phone stuck to Mexico. And when you say missed one, we've only missed one Thursday. That came out the following day, so we've never actually missed a week either. But I suppose at some point we're going to get caught out with the desperation of, as you say, with your wife. There is no other day when you leave it to this. You need Bry not to have any instance or not to fall ill, or else you're not getting it. We need to this Wi-Fi to hold up, or you're not getting the Thursday. So I maybe for 2025, our New Year's resolution should be sorting ourselves the fuck out.
Yeah, well, we did that one at Trees, didn't we? Where we tried to record it in the field, and then sort of 4 days later, we finished the episode in
So
the
we did.
fucking in an office. So, yeah,
So we've had a couple of serious ones there. We had the sort of the differences between the touring booking and promoting booking and 80-20 splits and contractual differences. And then Jesus, we went full on with the misery hammer last week with John Rostrom and the difficulties facing festivals at the moment. So didn't get to a single question in last week's pod. Thanks again to John for coming on, and thanks for all the good feedback. Some people really enjoy those ones, us too, but just not all in a row. So a bit of more, not light-hearted, but more questions. It's a Q&A based one, so we can get through some of the backlog that's there. Otherwise, some news for us first, James.
well, we went to the UK Festival Awards last Tuesday, and 2000 Trees picked up Best Medium Festival for the third year out of four, I think, which
Congratulations.
was very nice. Thanks. And
And is that
it was gone.
I mean, I know it's hard for me to come and say without knowing that you were just about going win this, that these awards are just dog shit, and then sit here and nod along saying, "Oh, that's amazing, James." But is this one of the genuine ones? This is one of the ones that folk care about.
Well, look, it's the one.
It's the
It's the
one.
number one awards that you can have in the festival industry. All the big people are there. Live Nation are there. Truck Festival, Bloodstock. Everyone's there. The whole festival industry, and it's voted for by the fans. So, frankly, that's the most important thing. If your fans are the most important thing to any festival. So it feels nice. We keep picking it up. Arctangent is nominated in the same category every year as well, but Trees is the one that wins it every year. And it was we I went with Mark, Andy, and Rob. With that's like four of the six founders of 2000 Trees, and we're like best mates, and we had a lovely time. I mean, you know,
What's not to
it was
love?
sort of like a sat in a taxi at 2 a.m. with a full pizza kind of night. Waking up wondering where your soul has gone. Um, but yeah, it was good fun.
Brilliant,
So
brilliant.
we
Well,
were happy.
but yeah, I say I'm going to give those awards more credit now that my co-host is the one that wins them. So well done to all involved.
Do
And
you do you, do you know Manchester Punk Festival? Do you know that
eh,
festival?
only by like is that like I'm wearing a Meryl Streep shirt? I think I saw a Meryl Streep on that lineup. So only through seeing the poster. I don't know where it is
So
or what it is.
I mean, I met those guys for the first time. They won an award, and they were up against like Radar and a bunch of other indoor festivals. So I guess that would be your category. I think they call them Metropolitan Festivals, so it's the category. And yeah, they were super nice and they were super happy to have won. So yeah,
Right,
cool.
okay. Now we've had Angela on board for a year now, but with Angela on board now, we'll come and win that next year because Angela's the kind of person that will nominate us for it and make sure it gets seen through, and all the proper people have their backs patted. So who knows? Next year we're coming for, who is it? Manchester Punk Festival and Radar, our good friends in Radar, we're coming for you. Who won that one
Yeah.
this year? Was it the Manchester
Yeah,
one?
Manchester Punk Festival. And look, you love an excuse to get in a room and drink more than you need to and run
Yes.
around like a lunatic. And that's basically what it is. At about like gone midnight, I've got Biffy Clyro's agent cornered against the wall, and I'm telling him, right, this is it, Steve. Secret set this year. They're playing Transmit the same weekend. Let's get them third from top main stage. Pack of crisps and a Snickers bar for payment, and fucking let's get them down there. But
Let's do this. And
it's
yeah,
not.
that's
It's
like
not.
he's either drunk enough with you to be like, yes, James, great idea, or nodding along like, yes, James, go home.
Well, I had to check the next day. Was that a drunken idea? And he's like, yeah, yeah, it
But
was.
no, no, you're selling this whole awards process to me a lot more than the awards themselves. So, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
A wee catch up from our side of things. Damnation's announcement last week went swimmingly. I really, really enjoyed it. Best sales. Paul would set me up for a dummy. I sold me a dummy because he does between both of us, we keep track of the weekly ticket sales, and we've got a graph basically, or an Excel sheet that's got everything on it for the last fucking 15 years. And I was looking at like, why are we so far behind 2023? How can we be behind 2023 and 2023 never even had any bands announced yet? This makes no sense. And also, 2023 is going to pull away in the next few weeks where we don't normally sell over Christmas, New Year, and we're going to find ourselves going into New Year like, I don't know, 800, 1,000 tickets behind where we were. So I was actually putting myself down about the whole announcement because, as great as it was, a couple of thousand sales was still behind where we were last year. And then we realised Paul hadn't actually started counting until February the 5th or whatever it was. And just put it in the wrong hole, basically. So I was just sitting this whole time, and it turns out we're 600 or 650 tickets ahead of where we were last year at this point,
Yes.
and the best sales we've ever had. So that, in the space of changing one wee box in an Excel sheet. I mean, the ticket sales never changed at all. Just my perception of where we were against where we were last year. I was fucking delighted. My whole mood changed. The entire day changed for me. I was like 650 tickets ahead of where we were last year is amazing because this year is, or you were there, it was busy. So we can get an extra £1,000 and that will be completely fucking sold out. So that was
That's awesome.
that was great. In terms of the otherwise, not much happened. A wee bit. Woke up to an interesting one today where a sort of big band we had chased who weren't interested or the money was too over the top. It kind of came back with that sort of, hey, is this still on the table? Which is a bit like, that's an odd one. That's when, so the dynamics of their thinking has changed. You know what I mean? Like their grand plan isn't what they thought it might be. So don't know if that'll go anywhere, but I hope that at some point that's something I can talk about in the podcast if that becomes official, or if it gets knocked in the head and it's one of the ones I can talk about. Where it's slap bang in the middle of new negotiations, probably not the best time to chat about it.
Don't forget, this could be a private conversation, but this podcast is built on it being in front of everyone, isn't it? Don't forget that I promote in Bristol. So if you ever need to, like, if you ever can't make the money work and you need to add a show, you could be like, my mate will do your show. I mean,
Miles.
if this is the band that you were talking about before we came on air, then let's fucking, I don't know, if you need the exclusive, then fine, have the exclusive. But
Ah,
if you
thanks.
you
You
need
you
something
you
to make you need
you would
something to
let
make it
me
work.
you would let me recommend a band to you and Miles. Jesus, we have got close in this podcast. Thank you, James. a,
Amazing.
a wee bit of podcast housekeeping, which I thought was quite important to get up front with the Kofi, especially the last couple of weeks. We've not managed to, or we hadn't heard from the people that had been picked. All been a wee bit of a shit show, which we've went on about. I feel that it's clearing that now. Whatever security measure that they've removed, when people are getting the auto cancelled now, that was just a sort of reminder from the month before. It's just now hit that date. It now appears to be working, and we're slowly building back up to those sub numbers. So please, I will remind you at the end as well, but please, if you're going to go and sub or have had that auto cancellation, resub, that would be great. The two that we haven't, this is kind of heroes that we have supporting us. We had a D, who never gave us a surname, and then a Ross Atkinson. Ross Atkinson said, I would love nothing more than a side stage pass at trees for me and my missus, but I'm not going to ask for that because I'm such a fucking legend. I'm going to ask for you guys to support or donate something to Metal for Good, which I believe you guys are heavily involved in
Yeah.
already across both festivals. From Damnation's side of that, I'm happy to donate a pair of tickets to Metal for Good. If anyone from Metal for Good listens to this, reach out to us. We'll sort it out nice and easy. I could probably get some merch sent. I don't have that in my hands. I need to get that sent from a factory elsewhere. But definitely a pair of weekend tickets. So it's at 350 quid worth of tickets to Metal for Good. And you can thank Mr. Ross Atkinson for that.
Yeah, I mean, they one of the things they do at Metal for Good is it's a lot of like upcycling of old merch and stuff and selling. So if you've got any like really, I know you love to have all your stuff up in your attic with old shit that people might really want. That could be cool. I might try and dig out a t-shirt or something. That's a really good idea.
Yep,
Metal
yep.
for Good, they're great. I mean, they would be perfect. Having now been to Manchester Damnation, Metal for Good would be a perfect organization. They would fit in really well with all the
What's there?
stuff you have there in that in the marquee.
Happy to have them involved. Listen, I know them. They have reached out to us before about doing. I'm happy to promote. Sometimes it's just the time or is not there to do it, but we can get something sorted for them. I would suggest, Ross, if you get the opportunity to corner James at Trees, badger him for a chance to go up on one of the stages and watch one of the bands too, because you sound like an all-round good guy.
I will take you if you find me at the right moment. I'll take you up to watch one band, but you can't choose that band.
It's going to be
It's
whoever.
going to be a thing there and then.
It's, gonna,
Um,
it's like
Well, look, ask me. It depends on where I am in the sort of the
yes.
journey of a festival organizer in terms of my mood. I'll probably, yeah, next thing you know, you'll be watching Alexis on Fireside Stage. Who knows?
And Dee, our other one that was picked for 2 weeks ago, or maybe last week, she I think she's like a day one subscriber. So, firstly, thank you, Dee. It's brilliant to have that support. She's asked if we could reserve. She's got a ticket for the Leeds show on tour with the pod, and she's asked if we can reserve her a front row seat. Which the answer is yes. However, D, please remind me, don't wait until you show up that night and there's nothing reserved for you because that's exactly what will happen. Get in touch with me the day before or the day of, and I will go and get a sheet of A4 paper and write your name in it, and we will reserve you a front row seat. Very clever and good natured requests for this one,
Mate,
James.
you got Tom Begley for that. Tom, you're listening. Get that on your list for your tour managers' jobs.
So that's us bang up to date with the Kofi. The next person to be selected from the Big Jar of Goodness is Tim Stables. My good friend Tim Stables, actually. Thanks for the support, Tim. Get in touch. Let us know what you'd like. If you'd like your name added to the Big Jar of Happiness, then please subscribe.
Lovely stuff. There's one thing I wanted to bring up as well. We said a couple of weeks ago. Gav jokingly said, "Send us free stuff. If you want to send us free stuff, send us free stuff." And like, I don't really go on our socials, as Gav will moan about regularly, and I certainly don't go into the messages. But I accidentally thought I was logged into my own Facebook, and I ended up in the Facebook Messenger, and I read this message from Gareth Endine, and he was like, "I wrote a book called Half a Ton of Heavy Metal. Do you want me to send you a copy?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I do." And here it is. And it's great. I love it. This is like the geek in me. So it's basically 50 years of heavy metal. They pick one year. Sorry, they pick one album from each year. So obviously there are years like 1986 where that is mental. You got like Rain and Blood going up against Master Puppets and fuck knows what else. So it's open to argument. Pick a year, Gav. Any year. Go on.
82.
You know what the hardest thing about this book is? It only has the album name. So let's hope we know which band this is, otherwise we're about to look very uncool. 1982 was Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
Oh,
Fuck
for
yes, it
fuck's
was.
sake. That was so that was the year I was born, so God knows how I turned it so well adjusted, if that's the kind of fucking music it was kicking about.
But basically there's like 3 or 4 pages on each album. It's for the music geek, the metal fan, which I am, both it's fucking great. So thanks, Gareth, for sending that over. Really
Well,
nice.
I hope when you finally took some sort of responsibility or interest in the podcast beyond showing up here once a week, that you realise how much fucking
Yeah.
mince that I need to go through. See the amount of people that I end up dealing with for Art Tangent or Trees. Can you please send this on to the guy who runs the bars at Trees so I can get myself? I'm like, fuck off! I mean, like, I no, absolutely not. There is full Trees and Art Tangent socials and teams paid to run them, and you've came on to Two Promoters One Pod, and I'm the poor bastard that looks at it. And I've got nothing else to say about it, James.
Mate, the modern world is eating itself. Like WhatsApp, text, Facebook Messenger, Instagram messages. Fucking, I just cannot keep up with it. I can't keep up with it. So I've just chosen not to now.
I know.
Um,
Still, as Rob says with the fucking Puppet Master, the fact every time that I go in to manage that Instagram page that you set up for us, I'm just like, fucking done me again. Done me.
well, mate, if there's ever anyone offering free heavy metal books, then just tell me and I'll log in.
On that final point of housekeeping, again, James being James, the on the record with me not firing in all cylinders the last couple of weeks hasn't been updated properly for the last couple of episodes. I will do that today. James has equal access to on the record.
Mate,
His Spotify account is linked to it. It takes fucking seconds, but no, he's not
Mate,
interested.
say the words, and I will take it on. I'm not a good sharer of jobs. On the record, I would be happy to do, but I'm not going back and doing the ones you fucking missed though. 'Cause
From today, right? From today, you're
okay,
taking on the record. You're going to
fine.
when we finish the pod, or when it comes out that morning, you're going to go and add our two tracks and the track of any guest. Yes,
Yep,
and
not
no extras.
backdated.
See that way as well. When you like the idea that you should really just listen to the full album, you want to go and add a full album of some crazy fucking Bangkok Woo. Don't don't do that.
I promise nothing.
Okay. Finally, Lose Brews. We have our own sauce. Two promoters, one sauce, which is kind of breaking my heart a bit because I see everyone else getting it, and I don't.
I
I
was
don't
going to
have it.
say, Lou, what the fuck? I mean, he's great at sending us sources, apart from when we've got our own source.
I've been told it's burnt peach. I've been told it's absolutely delicious, but then I wouldn't know because I don't have one to try for myself. So
Wild.
Louis Brews, the thing with him at the minute is he's posting online is he's so busy that he says the amount of packages he's putting into his local post office he's causing fire hazards. That's how busy he is. That's how successful this podcast has made him. And here we are, just imagining the taste of what that burnt peach fucking hot sauce might taste like. You know what I mean? Just hoping that maybe by Christmas we could have a wee bottle. So unfortunately, we can't tell you how it tastes. The people online are saying it's fantastic. If you'd like to get yourself a bottle, visit his site, losebrews.co.uk. Use the code POD15 to get 15% off your Christmas order. I think he says if you order by the 16th, this will be out on the 12th, that you get guaranteed Christmas delivery. So go and get yourself, all the joking aside about the hero, go and get yourself a nice Christmas box set and add the two promoters one sauce in there too. It'll spice up your turkey trimmings.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Take us away, James. Let's get a Q&A on the go.
Okay. Kirsty Cuthbertson says, how do you listen to a band before, sorry, how much do you listen to a band before deciding if you like it and or would it suit your festival? I need to listen to a band loads to really get into them and couldn't imagine trying to listen to and make a decision on the hundreds of bands you must both get through.
Well, I mean, it's difficult because that's a real sliding scale. You can book a band after listening to half a song if you're already aware of a demand for that band and how they're thought of your fan base. So some black metal band, I mean, pick one of the ones, your Spectral Voice, Spectral Wound, Spectral something. It's you see it everywhere. People fucking singing and dancing, and this is absolutely fantastic. You don't even need to listen to that. You book them without listening. You always go because your own curiosity and listening. So it's not a case of you personally having to love that band or even having heard their full discography dozens of times before they'll be booked for Damnation. And the other side of the scale, Meryl Streep or crippling alcoholism are the two best examples of lots of times, lots and lots and lots of times, because that's not being requested. That's you taking not a punt. These bands are established themselves and they're exciting, but you're going to go and book these bands for your festival, and it's not the same as like a Spectral Wound where there is 70 requests on the forum and they're winning albums of the year awards and all that jazz. It's you going, I think this band's spectacular. I want to have this at Damnation, but I also want to be 100% sure it's definitely. I'm not going to sit drunk one night, enjoy one listen, and then start just sending it offers. So bands like Meryl Streep and Crippling Alcoholism, dozens of times. And then you're like, no, this is going to fit. I do believe in this band. And even if people don't know when they get announced, they will know by the time they play Damnation. So, yes, it can go from either not having to listen to a single track or half a track to deep investigation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to repeat really what you said because that's totally how I do it. I mean, so I've got that book club thing that I do where I'm doing 4 or 5 albums every week. So I go deep on those albums for a 2 week period on like a rotating basis. So an album that I really like the Eshawn album, I will listen to tens and tens and tens and tens of times. I know the words to the songs, and um, all my top 10 albums a year, which is we'll do next week. Those albums I've gone well deep on, and some of those bands play my festival. But that listening is my listening as a fan, not my job listening. And then there's a bunch of stuff that, yeah, it can be half a song. If someone a booking agent or a record label, like you know to talk about someone we haven't talked about before, I've got very close links with Alcopop Records for 2000 Trees. Jack does an amazing pitch at me every year with he's the most enthusiastic pitch of all time. Here's 5 bands, you're going to fucking love them. This is why they're perfect at trees. And I'm like, yeah. And I go and listen with Jack's words ringing in my ears. And I know he's got a good ear for good bands. Always has a great roster and they always fit trees. I then go and listen, and it might be flicking through 3 or 4 songs for half a song each. It might be that I listen to the album for an hour or I get into it and I love it. But either way, I can decide, is that suitable for 2000 Trees? Yes or no? Am I going to book some alcopop bands every year at 2000 Trees? Yes, I am. So it's a quick process, really. Um, and everyone wants to think that you're sat at home with like the Hot Milk album for 3 weeks, going deep on it, but you can't. There's not enough time.
Yeah,
It's not work listening to music
yeah,
for in depth. That's fun.
yeah.
It's not my job.
And the
So
point made before as well was like, what if you listen to some of these albums, you're like, I don't like it. That's not going to rule out it being booked because it's not James's ATG. It's not Gav Nation. It's there is going to be bands at your events that you're going to be about like, even if I did listen to that 100 times, I would never like it. It's not my. But then I'm not booking this festival for me. Fuck, I'm one of the few people that doesn't buy a ticket for this. It shouldn't be booked for me. It's booked for everyone else. And if I'm like,
absolutely.
I want a whole festival to sound like Amon Ra and Cult of Luna and Julie Christmas, like that's doing nothing for a old school death metal fan or a thrash metal fan. So you need to trust your audience. You need to trust your own. Like I'm a promoter. I'm going to look at this across the 20 years. I've seen people requesting stuff, and I know it's going to be exciting. And it's exactly that's Spectral Wounds. That I think you've mentioned them before as well. They're one of those bands that, not that we've booked them. I think they're booked for. I think maybe booked for Incineration this year. It's one of those ones if it had landed in your inbox, even though I have now listened to the album, you would book it straight away because you already know it's got nothing to do with, oh, how do I feel about the album if I put it on? I was like, oh, that's shit, I'd still book it. And I've done that with plenty of bands. And it's good what you say as well about the recommendations to people as well. There is a don't cry wolf too often where if you're an agent, a label, a manager, there is a bit you can build a respect in a relationship with folk when they tell you something and it turns out to be true, and that goes for how big a band will be as well, or how they'll fit in somewhere. And then when that doesn't go well, the next time you're a little bit more cautious when you go, oh, this band will definitely take this band for 5 grand and they're going to be great and they definitely be in the main stage, and then they shit the bed. You're a bit like, right, okay, I'll need to be more cautious with that agent or manager or that label next time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, these people are like, and this is kind of following on to the next thing I was going to say, which these people, they make their kind of livelihoods, that whether they're press or label or booking agent, their livelihood is based on these bands, and they've been doing it for tens of years. So, and we've talked about this before. They're the filtering system. They're the ones listening to every fucking terrible band that no one needs to hear. And you end up with the five alka pop bands that are fucking banging. And like the booking agent of, well, I'm unsure which Spectral band you're talking about, but can you book Spectral Voice, please? Because that album is fucking brilliant. It's in my top 20 of this year. Not going to make my top 10. Book them. Or
Okay.
is it Spectral Wound we're talking
Well,
about? Who
I
knows?
was talking about all the Spectrals that just came to me when I was doing it, but Spectral Wound was definitely the album playthrough that we had on the in the forum last night. But Spectral Voice are another one which the both of them get just a lot of hype about both at the moment.
Yeah, Spectral Voice have got members of Blood Incantation, I believe. Anyway, we're getting off the topic, but yeah. So I think we've answered variations on this question in some ways over the years because people are always like, "What do you mean they're not your favorite band? How are you not sitting at home listening to fucking Don Broco over and over again?" There's like I book 300 bands a year. Well, just do the maths on how much time there is in a year to listen to music. I mean,
Yeah.
when the Spotify whatever it's called, Spotify Wrapped came out last week. There's like my minutes are like, I don't know, it's like 115,000 minutes a year. My friend messaged me saying, like, that's like, my friend Michelle, she was like, that's like 73 days or something. Like, I've spent 73 fucking days last year listening to music, but there's
Aye.
still not enough time to go deep on
Yeah,
everything. There's just
yeah.
not.
It's just some. I think we'll answer a variation of this question to the end of days because people just can't wrap their head around that you would book something that you didn't like yourself, and you just
Yeah,
it's quite. I mean, it's really that simple. That's just if you would just book stuff you like, your festival would ultimately collapse because it's just when they work like that. It's just that you need to if that kind of audience, the audience that you're trying to attract, especially trees. It needs a wider catch than your oddball fucking taste. Know what I mean? I don't think
yeah,
Ileton and fucking Sean are going to be doing 15,000 tickets for fucking Upcote Farm. So, aye, you need to book stuff that might not be in your wheelhouse and trust other people.
yeah.
Chris Stewart, our good friend Chris Stewart. With this being the first official 2 day, I like how we put official there. No, this is just the first 2 day damnation. It's not official or unofficial.
He's trolling you there. I love it.
I just get fucking trolled. And with this being the first 2 day damnation, what's going to be the case with day splits and day tickets going on sale, and how many announcements deep should we expect for all to be revealed? Will they both be influenced by how fast tickets for the weekend sell? Okay, let's to that question. So, yes, 2 day damnation, only weekend tickets and sale. We really need to push, like all festivals, I suppose, where there's more than one day. You really want to push your weekend tickets. You don't want to get caught in a situation where your Saturday goes and sells out, and then you've got folk who would have bought two that don't, and then your Sunday then gets left lagging, or vice versa. So we really want people to come and support us for the weekend. It is our 20th birthday party. It's going to be a good one, and yes, we will have some form or allocation of day tickets for people that just aren't able. You're getting a minute. People like I got a bit of praise previously because I mentioned like we wouldn't do the Friday Saturday because it would rule out people like teachers who just would. There's no option to get the Friday off. Now the same people seem to be bashing us in the head about make sure Sunday
Yeah.
finishes early so I can get back to my job on the Monday. And you're like, fuck, you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? We're already sacrificing one to. I mean, if it's a bit later, it's a bit later. I mean, you need to jump in your car at fucking 11 o'clock and do a 2 hour drive back somewhere. We can go in to work the next day without being. Just don't get pished. If you need to be there, you need to be there. So, aye, there will be some allocation of day tickets for whatever reason people just can't get there the full weekend. But I hope the allocation is tiny because the weekend tickets have taken up most of the what's available in the capacity.
Yeah, I mean, my attitude to day tickets has kind of changed a little bit over the years. I think ultimately, you want your festival, you want everyone there for the whole thing. That adds to the atmosphere. Everyone turning up Saturday after having a great day on Friday and talking about it the next day. What did we see yesterday? Adds to the atmosphere, but certainly even more so at a camping festival where you're all there and you're all in it together. Having said that, I think you can't get away from the economics of if you're booking Cradle of Filth or Opeth or Kneecap, all those bands are going to have fans that couldn't give a fuck about Damnation, Art Tangent, or 2000 Trees. And maybe you want, like I think at 2000 Trees last year, we did about 1,000 day tickets a day. And you can do the maths on how much a day ticket is. It's not an inconsiderable amount of money.
Yeah,
And some of those people, are just, maybe a Frank Turner fan or whoever. They don't want to come for the whole thing, so they just want to go for the day. So it's worth, I always think eventually give people the opportunity to just make the finances stack up. But
Yeah.
I'm totally with you.
Yeah,
Weekend
absolutely,
tickets can be a lot
absolutely,
cheaper.
and also in the timing, I would probably follow the lead of the festivals like Arctangent and Download and Bloodstock and the rest of them. That you give your weekend sales the best possible chance, and then much later it tends to be. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it tends to be a couple of months out that these events then put on their day tickets. Is that what you get? You're not off on day tickets at the moment, are you?
Yeah, no, I think we are now. I think nowadays we're like, at the end of the day, I think an Alexis on Fire fan is going to see them on the lineup and they're going to make a decision. We like enough of the lineup, we're going to go for a weekend, or we're just Alexis on Fire super fans.
I,
They're going
I,
to go for a day. And I think you only get in the modern world of so much information overload, you might only get that person that hasn't really heard of 2000 Trees once to see it.
yeah.
And once they've gone to your website, I'm just like, we'll take their money in
Aye.
some way or
I'd have
other,
moved
I
on.
think.
Because if you're in, say, Alexis and Fire is a great example, but your only connection to Trees at all is Alexis and Fire. The only reason you know about Trees is because it showed up on Alexis and Fire's page that one time. Are you then going to risk it that in 4 months' time when the day tickets come on, when Alexis and Fire don't repost that
Yeah.
you lose that sale? That's an interesting way to look at it. This is the first time we've ever done it, so it's a bit of every day's a school day for myself and the team for us. But I mean, really. I don't want the situation currently to be like because I feel that once a Damnation fan's going, no, I like to go for the day and I'll go for the Saturday. I think once they've bought that ticket, they're going to go back in and repay the booking fee and then buy a Sunday ticket separately. Keep saying Sunday, it could be vice versa, Sunday onto
Yeah.
the Saturday, and then a bit like I'd love everyone who can make it to come along and bash it for the weekend. In terms of, I'd answered that enough, but when it'll be, I mean, if we were to say we've done 5,500 weekend tickets and we sold them out in February or March, well, that's when the day tickets would come on. If we were going to say it was going to be 500 a day for day ticket allocations, that's when they'd come and sell. If that's a bit later, we'll need to make a decision of when are you going to pull the trigger to make that happen. Decision's not been made in it, but there will be an allocation of day tickets. We're not trying to lock people out who, for any good reason, can't make both days. As much as
Yeah.
we'd love to see everyone there for both.
Good. I mean, when Chris says, will you be influenced by how fast tickets sell? I mean, we would be if weekend tickets flew, we wouldn't do day tickets. It's just like if we were
It's just
if when I say flew, I mean if we sold out
yeah.
in 2 months, then who? No, fuck day tickets. Day tickets are much more complicated for a camping festival than they are for your because we've got to park everyone. So you have
Yeah.
to. So for those day tickets, you need parking staff on, and those people are all leaving that night. So you need parking staff on late at night.
And more
It's
security
annoying.
and get
And
get
and
people
you
out.
need to make sure that people aren't buying a day ticket and staying for the whole thing. So you need a whole like there's a wristbanding accreditation structure around that, which security then enforce. So yeah, they're more complicated. We'd much rather just do weekend tickets.
Okay, Steve Dunn for James. With what you said about exclusions and tours close to trees, how did Better Lovers at Thelka come about?
Thekla. But yeah.
Just let it be what I want it to be. Is this the one in the boat? What one's the boat?
Yeah, it's the boat. Yeah. Um, so that show took place. I think it's an interesting technical point because Steve is right. I did say I don't allow this sort of thing. I don't know if Steve's realised that it was my show, but basically the show took place in Bristol on the Wednesday, which is the first day of 2000 Trees. Now, usually I would never allow that. And when bands are doing tours, I try to book them on the Saturday of Trees and then make them tour after Trees rather than over Trees. But the agent just said to me, we're going to need to do one other show to make this work financially. And I just called Miles and I was like, look, I know we don't usually cash for Trees, but the Trees Wednesday is going to sell out. It probably already sold out. So why don't we just do Better Lovers Thursday at Trees, Wednesday in Bristol? That will also sell out because it's kind of an underplay. It's like a 400 cap venue for a band that can do more. So I don't like to compete with myself, but this doesn't feel like I am competing with myself because both shows will sell out. So who loses? No one. So you can get around the exclusivity. Now, if that was another promoter, I would have been like, no, go and play in Manchester or go and play in Leeds. I
Yeah,
don't want you in Bristol.
yeah,
But I'm the promoter, so I got to win on both sides of it. It's quite an unusual situation. I'm ringing Miles all the time saying, shall we do this band in Bristol around trees? And he's usually like, no, 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 because everyone from Bristol that likes that sort of music is already at 2000 trees. That
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it makes. But I suppose is it slightly better when you get to the harder bands like more extreme, like I don't like to call Better Lovers extreme, but in the sense of pop punk and that is a because your biggest bands, I mean your Frank Turners or whatever. If you saying, oh, let's do an underplay somewhere in Bristol, and Miles like, no, everyone who likes Frank Turner is at 2000 Trees, whereas
yeah,
Better Lovers is a bit more opportunity to get a metal fan.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's yeah, it's tricky. I think because the way if that had been the Thursday of Trees when the Better Lovers show was on, it would have really suffered if the Bristol show had clashed with the main festival, because then you're talking about 15,000 plus people. But the Wednesday is, 4,000 people.
Yeah.
So there's still plenty left in Bristol that aren't coming. So it made sense. And we continue to have these conversations, and I don't think there's anything this year yet booked in, but we'll see.
Okay.
We
Okay.
shall see. Next question. Daniel Hay says, there's a well-known, I've never heard of this. I liked this question.
I bet you did.
The- there's a well-known theory in musicology that states that generally a person's favorite year in the history of music in terms of releases is when they are 15. Initially, I was a bit fascinated by James's fandom of both Therapy and the Wild Arts, both decent bands but not on all-time favorite lists, until I realized that their most famous albums both came out in 1993. And it clicked. So to both of us, what is our favorite year for music releases? And if it so happens to be the year that you were 15 years old, is that a total coincidence?
Well, for me, this is a fucking horse shit because I was at 15. Fuck, what was it? I got Alanis Morissette, some Dutch gabber music, some Roughneck, some Rotterdam Terrorcore, fucking I don't know whatever else, Natalie
Wait a
Imbruglia.
minute, wait a minute. Some Rotterdam Terrorcore.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
really
is that a genre or a band?
no, well, it's Gabber's the genre, but they're all DJs. So it's like
Okay.
Rotterdam Terrorcore and Roughneck and Neophyte, and that was all. We would go up into the town, you'd buy these fucking CDs for like £40. They'd put like a tenner in each and get these CDs. You never knew it would be, well, you knew it would sort of be like as Dutch hardcore. And then you put it on and it'd be shite and it'd be fucking great or whatever. So I enjoyed that music without being head over heels about it. And then just whatever nonsense was kicking up the charts. Because like a lot of 15-year-olds in Pollock, no one gave a shit about, people gave a shit about football and fighting. And music was never, like, we never had people at our school that were fucking goths or rockers or, I mean, it didn't exist. And Natalie Imbruglia, Alanis Morissette, whatever else can about. It wasn't until I went to college and I had a friend who was like, "Oh, we had Marilyn Manson and Korn and Slipknot and Smashing Pumpkins." That I very quickly went off a fucking cliff in that direction to where I am now. So, unfortunately, Daniel, as much as I'm keen to hear James's answer, that did not happen for me. And that's not shitting in Alanis Morissette. I would happily go and see Alanis at the Glasgow Hydro next summer.
Mate, she's nearly going on the bingo card. You mention her so often.
Ah, Alanis and Julie Christmas, let's go.
So you're not going to be tied down to a year later on in your life.
I mean, I think like a lot of us that early 2000s when all these bands that are now absolutely fucking huge again, your Deftones and your Corns and Linkin Parks, and then probably struck a chord most. But then it's not like, I mean, other than Deftones, maybe Tool, it's not like I'm going back to those bands regularly. I still find some of the most exciting music I listen to is the newest music that I've been putting for this year or last year. So there's definitely in the essence of this question, there's nothing that sit with me like, oh my God, there's just nothing I'll ever feel like I did when I was 15, 16, 17 again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so obviously this answer I could have spent fucking 3 days working this out. I haven't spent 3 days. I spent about half an hour. So this is the best I can do. It's pretty it's pretty fucking if you could dive deep if you wanted to. Well, I've just sort of poked my head under the water, but I just wanted to first of all start by saying he was a bit disparaging about Therapy and the Wild Arts in the question, I thought. Called them both decent bands, but not often on all-time favourite lists. Well, fuck me. That got my back right up. Anyway, so he's correct. I didn't even know exactly when those albums were released, but both of them were around my 15th birthday. So then I thought, okay, um, Wild Arts came out in 93. Um, Therapy 94. So I looked at 93 and 94, like best album, best 20 albums in Kerrang and Metal Hammer and stuff. And 93, I think I was like a bit young. Like uh, there's a couple of albums I loved in that year. Like In Utero came out that year. Versus by Pearl Jam came out. But 93, not most of the albums on that list I've only got into later in life. 94 is a fucking mad year. Super Unknown by Soundgarden, Burn My Eyes, Machine Head, Space Age Playboys, Warrior Soul, How to Make Friends, Terrorvision, Manic Street Preachers, Holy Bible, Green Day Dookie, Pearl Jam, Vitality. It's just like fucking absolute wall to wall. So now I'm like, wait a minute, maybe he's right. I mean, I can't find a better year than 1994 for me. But then if you start looking through the 90s, I'm not going to go through them, don't worry. But like literally every year of the 90s to me is just wildly amazing. It's my favorite decade by a mile. And I think going back to Daniel's question, that is probably because of how old I am. Just because that is a pivotal time from sort of 15 to 20 years old where you're just sucking up so much new music. And I've just gone mad for all things rock and metal. Um, the last thing I want to give a shout out to is when I was 27 in 2005. So I'm gonna let Daniel have it, and I'm gonna say my favorite year based on my hour of research is 1994. But I want to give a shout out to 2005, Opeth Ghost Reveries and Francis the Mute Mars Volta, which if I was to name two albums that changed my music taste and made me want to start a festival called Arc Tangent, it's those two albums. And it's 2005 was when they came out, and that was a real turning point for me. Although weirdly, I'm embarrassed to say, and I shouldn't admit this, I was having quite a shit metal phase at the time. And that is also the year that Ascendancy by Trivium and The Poison by Bullet for My Valentine came out. And at the time, I fucking loved those albums. Absolutely loved them.
Yeah.
And they're very similar albums. They scratch the same itch. I'd never listen to them now. I'm not saying they're shit, but I would never.
So you're not going to go to that tour
I
because
don't know. It would be
they're
fun,
touring
wouldn't it?
both those albums. I mean, that is a nostalgia hit, surely.
It would be fun. I'm not. I don't think I'm interested. I don't know. I just feel like I've moved on too far. I haven't moved on from like, Iron Maiden or whatever, but that that era of like, because I was into like God Forbid and all that sort of American heavy metal as well around then.
Yeah.
And I'm just, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go to that tour.
It's odd for me because it's like I get it. So if I was into the metal by 2000, 2001, it just so quickly moved. Not even move. That sounds like I'm trying to be pretentious, but just that type of music. By the time your Triviums and Bullet for My Valentines were coming out in the 2005 albums, I was just I wasn't interested in it. I was just more interested in heavier stuff, whatever that was. I'm trying to think in 2005 the type of music I would have been listening, but for whatever reason, you get the ones where you get the bangers for like the early Korn albums and early Limp Bizkit albums and early Linkin Park, and I'm like Deftones. That I'm like I'm all in. And like
Yeah,
when I Korn headline and fucking download next year, and I like listening to Blind and um or the tracks for issues, I'm like, I'm all in it. But when you get to the Trivium and Bullet from Valentine, which were just that exact type of music 4 years later,
yeah.
I never, none of it ever registered with me. So it's odd to how that passage went, that was so quickly went away from the more popular metal to whatever it is, wherever I found myself, because it was
I mean,
dead.
I,
I suppose at that point I would have been, so that would have been like The Haunted, Raging Speedhorn, Sixth. Those are my definite, because that's where I'm booking the first year of Damnation. So that's where my head would have been with the type of bands.
I mean, I would agree that those, for me, also the likes of the debut Korn album and also weirdly the debut Linkin Park album have stood the test time much better than for my personal tastes than Trivium or Bullet for My Valentine, which I just would never put on. But I absolutely, if someone put on the first Linkin Park album, I'd fucking know every word to it. I think so.
Every
Um,
single word is
yeah, I can do
surprising.
all the raps and everything. It's like,
I tried the new album. I got to like I thought that the single they put out was okay, and then it's actually quite catchy when you hear it the second or third time. But when I get like full tracks into it, I was just like, I don't know. And it's leaving the Chester thing for me. I'm not sitting here preciously going, oh, it's a different band or a cover band. It's just so generic. And I'm probably the reason why I never listened to anything beyond Meteora. That I was already done with Linkin Park. The first two albums are absolute bangers. The tracks on them are dance floor fillers. Happy to have them on in any situation, especially at a festival. But aye, after that I had my fill of Linkin Park. I think the Linkin Park sound had been done to as good as it could be done by that point, and nothing's
Yeah.
changed with the new singer. Or
No, I
with,
mean, I listened to the That's Not Metal review of Linkin Park and it put me off because it's basically the review was the single's a banger, the rest of the album's filler, and I kind of suspected it might end up being like that. And to be honest, not wanting to get into this rabbit hole, but there's all that Scientology fucking crap in the background, which doesn't make me want to listen to Linkin Park ever
all
again,
right, all
really.
right.
But that is
That's a new
that,
singer.
yeah,
Right.
that's. I mean, let's not. I don't
No.
think let's not open that can of worms, but it doesn't make me want to listen to them. So yeah.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Right. David Mitchell. Sent us a story. On the last episode, James mentioned that he was not really into Twinkly Math Rock. Despite that, he booked one of the greatest ever Twinkly Math Rock emo festivals in 2016. Floro, American Head Charge, Enemies, Meet Me in St. Louis, Toe, Golfer, TTNG, Delta Sleep, and a bunch other. Can he expand and what led him to create that lineup so heavy in that genre in that specific year, and how he approached programming it without necessarily being a fan of those genres? Also, what are some of his favourite bands in that genre?
So look, we're back. We're slightly back in the. What do you mean you don't listen to all the bands all the time thing again? But really, booking a lineup, as Gav will no doubt agree with, the availability of bands will vary on any given year. And anyone who saw how we put out for Arctangent last year, that like sort of genre splits where I'd gone through and gone, these bands are prog metal, these bands are math rock emo, these bands are prog, these bands are post metal, whatever, all the genres. And
Yeah,
there's like nine of these, 13 of these, four of these across about 10 genres or so. And I'm actually going to go and do that again for Arctangent this year before I finish the lineup to try and even it up a bit. But the reality is, some years you'll have more like Meshuggah Animals as leadersy bands. Some years you'll have, I mean, last year, Mogwai and Explosions in the Sky, the two headliners, two of the three headliners, it's post-rock heaven. It's not going to be as post-rock a heavy lineup this year at Arctangent, is it? Because it's impossible for it to be. So the answer really to this question is who was available in that year. And it just happened that it was like, as this guy says, like twinkly math rock emo heaven. Now, look, 2016 wasn't the best year of Arctangent ticket sales. It wasn't a classic year financially for us. And over the years, one of the reasons we continue to expand Arctangent is because there are some genres that enable us to make the festival financially sustainable. It just happens that I like those genres as well, but bands like Opeth and Devon Townsend probably wouldn't quite have fitted the Arctangent 2013 model, but they totally fit it now, and those are the bands that make us financially sustainable. Really, if you look at math rock, name me some big math rock bands. It's really fucking hard. And once you get past American football, who are not as big as Opeth and Devon Townsend, but once you get past American football, you're really struggling. Like we had battles, um, dubious about how many tickets that sold us. So you run out of bands. So math rock and emo and stuff will always be a thing at Arctangent, but it's just never going to be the main thing. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
we've had all the or most of the classic bands. Of
It's
course, everyone.
everyone but Sigur Rós now. Everyone and that because once you had Mogwai and then you've hit all the because it's exposed for that post rock today. Exposure to the Sky, Mogwai,
Yeah,
Godspeed You Black Emperor. Um, I mean, even the rest of that, that's the sort of god tier level of it. And then it starts to go down to smaller your monos and This Will
yeah.
Destroy Yous and Caspians and the rest of them. But I mean, actually, I was pulling up the lineup there just because I wanted to know if you were a victim of that whole sort of, perception. People say, oh, Damnation 2014 was a Doom festival because St. Vitus were playing. But then you look at the poster and it's got Bolt Throw and Cannibal Corpse and you're like, no, it was just your perception it was a Doom festival. But this is a very post-rock heavy festival, and you
Who are
can
the
see
headliners?
the headliners are Godspeed You Black Emperor, American football, and so I watch from afar. If I've got the final lineup, which I think
Yeah.
I have. So aye, and then it's Mono, Toe, Three Tap Tigers, Nordic Giants. I mean, aye, you've got animals as leaders in there as well, Black Peaks. So a great lineup, but aye, doesn't certainly not as expansive as your lineups now, where you're not that surprised to see some sort of out there death metal or black metal or you're down to stuff like Sugar and or Converge, you know. So it's an interesting point. But aye, you book what's available to you, and ultimately you've absolutely rinsed the market for post rock and math rock and all versions of Twiddly, and none of those bands are that massive to start with. So once you went
No.
through the ringer with some of those headliners, you're now back to round two, round three.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And yeah, and that's why we continue to expand with, spiritualized, or there's a couple coming in there's a few curveballs coming in January when we announce the lineup, some like stuff that I think people will be really excited about, but is like very on the edge of what is an arctangent band. The last thing I'll say is in answer to the question, my favorite album from this genre is Twin Galaxies by Delta Sleep. I really love that album. So yeah, it's not a genre that I listen to that much when I'm at home, just choosing. I tend to like heavier rather than twinkly. But yeah.
Yeah, it's where it goes too far in the other direction for me. I am Mister. I love post rock. Obviously, never shut up about it. But I when it gets twinkly, I start to lose interest quickly. I mean,
Yeah, you're not really a math rock fan, are you?
no. See, this is even that genre difference to me is that when it starts to get more like look how great I am at the instrument rather than the song itself.
Well, yeah, potentially. And there's a bit of, I mean, something like an American football isn't, it's not like super techy and super time changes. It's just very gentle, but not really, it's not post rock. It's, I don't know, fucking hell. I mean, you could go down a right rabbit hole there, but
We are trying to avoid all sorts of fucking tangents in this one.
okay,
Yeah.
let's have the next question. Um, Harlan Whittingham says, "Do co-headliners cost the same amount as headliners? I'm all for getting rid of the headliner at Damnation for all the reasons you've mentioned in recent podcasts. Would having a main stage co-headliner each night bring the cost down while still allowing you to use the dreaded word headliner when promoting the festival?"
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, and it gets boring when you answer every question with "it depends." I mean, it's almost like for 20 years of journalism, I always say to people, do not fucking answer a question with "it depends." I mean, it gives people number. It is again that sliding scale. I mean, you could book two bands as co-headliner, and both could cost you as much as the headliner cost the next day. One could cost you 30 grand, another one the co-headliner could be 18 grand. But for whatever reason, it's not like you're definitely not going to both agents and saying, "Oh, here's a deal I've got in place. We'll you both take 20 grand out," because that's never going to work. I mean, as soon as people, because you talk about the ball like a billing, you put that towards money, cash value, and you're gonna really set a fire under some agents and bands. So it's not as clear cut as that. Co-headliners tend to be like when you see them at Leeds and Reading or a download. Well, it tends to be two bands that maybe neither band could be that standalone headliner by themselves. So what you get is I don't know about Queens of the Stone Age and Paramore. Now, back in the day when Leeds and Reading were doing it, their headliners were Metallica and Rage Against the Machine, and they're just absolute standalone. There was no question about them being a headliner. When you went from that to Queens of the Stone Age and Paramore, there's about like the other type of bands that would always be in the main support slot, special guest slot, if you want to call it that. But you've booked two of them. So instead of your Metallica, you're getting Queens of the Stone Age and Paramore. And that's how a co-headliner works more traditionally because there's no need for a co-headliner if you've got a stone cold headliner. There's just a if you've got the budget for it, it's just the main support, special guest. So aye, they tend to be co-head and I mean whoever finishes the day at Damnation will be the headliner. It's not like we're getting, I feel like this is one of these ones where you start a conversation and there's just too many. You're tripping too many folk up there. It's not about. It's not going out and spending the 50 grand in a band that. Let's use Lamb of God are never playing for 50 grand, but they're a name that everyone understands is bigger than Damnation. So you go out and you spend 70 grand say on a Lamb of God. And then what I'm saying is, how about you spent 20 or 30 grand on a band, still a big name band, but they close the stage, they're the headliner, and then you take the rest of the money that would have been for the Lamb of God, and then you filter that into your third stage and your second stage. So it's not really about eradicating the headliner, it's about readjusting for what all festivals are trying to do now is grab this huge big Gojira or whatever, and then spending the big bucks on them because they want to get the ticket sales. Whereas at Damnation, I feel like the excitement for those bands isn't the same as it is at other events. So if you were to have a smaller band in the headline slot and then that rest of that budget filtered through the rest of the lineup, I feel you get a more exciting overall day. And I think a lot of fans agree. But the problem is getting those ticket sales without the big name, which might always be the problem forever. I'm not saying I've got a solution to it. I'm just offering up a different approach. So does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it does. It does. And it's all, you're just putting a name on. Like, there's a band that finishes the festival, and then there's a band that plays in the penultimate slot. And you're putting a name on them. Normally, it's like this is the headliner, and this band is just another band. And now we're calling them co-headliners. Now, it doesn't really affect your money because basically, let's look at Trees and, Friday, it's like Taking Back Sunday and Code and Cambria. That, you know, they both cost what they cost, right? And I'm paying them what they cost. I decided that the way I wanted to put the lineup together was to say your co-headliners. If I'd said one of you's a headliner, one of you's underneath, would they have said no? I've no idea. We didn't have that conversation. I just decided that it felt like they were co-headliners. But then with Alexis on Fire on the Saturday, I didn't feel like the band, who we haven't announced yet, who's playing under them, I didn't feel that I wanted that to be a co-headliner. And it was like a gut thing. And I think it's worked well on our posters, just getting the bigger bands right in your face, co-headliner. But like at Arctangent, it could be a completely different thing. It might be like, okay, we can't get an Opeth or a Meshuggah this year in that headline slot, so we're going to get two slightly smaller bands and call them co-headliners. We're going to get you know Melvins and Dillinger Escape Plan to co-headline instead of the Meshuggah slot. That is just
Yeah.
that's a possibility, and maybe the price of those two bands would add up to the same as another, or maybe it wouldn't. Like the price of bands is just, I mean, everyone must know by now on this podcast. There's no price list, and it's a total guessing game. So
Yeah, yeah.
you're not saving yourself money.
Agents as well who don't quickly go and get, oh, what's your budget for that slot? I'm like, well, budgets for that slot is whatever comes out for that slot. So I can say that that's I expect halfway up the main stage to be paying 10 grand. And you're like,
Yeah,
right, okay, but ultimately a band could play that slot for 5 grand, or maybe they might need 15. But that has to come from somewhere else. So then the band that's headlining the third stage might, instead of being 5 grand, be 2 grand.
yeah.
And the same for so it's
Well,
aye,
and don't forget, there'll always be a fucking agent when you try and go right. We're not having headliners at Damnation. There'll always be some agent going, wait a minute, we're the biggest band on this lineup. We're the biggest band. We're the headliner, aren't we? Wait a minute, don't you normally pay your headliners this? And it's like, why are you? And then next thing you know, you've got yourself in a right fucking mess. They'll want to be at the top of the poster because they're the biggest band. They'll want to look like a headliner because they're the biggest band. They'll want more money because they've just realised that you paid so and so that
yeah.
much
I
last
mean,
year. So it's like a
a
fucking mess.
cleaner way to have had this entire conversation and say, like, we usually spend whatever it is, £120,000, what will be per day on bands at Damnation. Would you like that pie to be swallowed by one band and then the rest getting their share of the pie? Or would you like it to be shared more equally so the whole bill's stronger, but that band at the top of the bill might not be as big a name as you might think of? That's a better way to do it. This whole idea, because people just go, there's no headliner. So it just, the stage, it goes blank at 10 p.m. and fucking sits in total darkness. And they're like, oh, fucking, this is an unusual way. Some DJ comes on, plays some fucking Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not what's happening. It's just, maybe I explained it awkwardly and then it's getting fucking, there's a bit of the, aye, somebody's told a pal who's told a pal. It's like, oh, Damnation's doing no headliners next year. And like, what the fuck does that mean? So, I understand it, but aye, there's no hard and fast costs. And James has made the point before with Mogwai as well. Sometimes your budget is done, but then something becomes available. And as long as you can calculate in your head and you've got the capacity to allow it, that this fee might attract X amount in ticket sales, then it's really, do you want to roll the dice again? Because if you're right and you've got the capacity for it, the money comes back in at the other side anyway. So, aye.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's the difficult thing here is we're being so honest in the past on episodes that now people are kind of wanting to dig into that. But in some ways, you don't really know the answer yourself because you're just trying to build a lineup
Yeah.
that every year looks slightly different to the one before and has got slightly different mix of big and small and
Aye.
medium bands. So
And you can get
yeah,
ridiculous with it as well. You look at your budget sheet and you could be like, well, fucking hell, we're spending 80 grand in production, including three video walls in the screen. Yet, here's this band available if I had an extra 10 grand and I take out the video screens, then I've got that and the money, the budget, the bottom line's the exact same, but the lineups just get better. And you're like, you can go down, there's other ways to rob Peter to pay Paul, but aye, it's not as clear cut as that's the slot for it. And if you can't meet that number, then that's what it's going to be.
yeah,
Final question from our good friend, Jeff Crosdale. Are the two promoted one pod live shows going to be recorded and released, or are they just for the audience that's there in the night? If they aren't recorded, I'm wondering if we might get hear some more illegal stories like the cross country drug dealing. So I'll give you my take on it because I think mine and James's takes are different. I don't want them recorded. I'm happy for them to be recorded, but I don't want them published. I feel that they are sort of special one-offs for that night. And we've had no conversation about this, but I know you've mentioned me a couple of times about getting them recorded. So that's how I feel that your opinion might be different. Ultimately, it's not because I don't. It's not because I want to like just jump on stage and start getting really controversial. But there will be a situation where it will feel a bit more personal and private, and maybe we will chat a bit more about cancel culture and a bit more about gender splits and feel a bit more comfortable because there's a difference between people that have came here to your show and know what you're all about. And I've been with you for a year and understand you're not a racist, sexist pig. And you can have an open conversation. And then the people on the internet who want to clip off 30 seconds and put it on Twitter and have your life's work ruined. So, aye. But that's not particular. What I'm saying is I probably will be a bit more open and honest at the live shows and I will be recording to stick straight on the internet. But that's not the reason I don't want them recorded. The reason for that is I just feel like you're paid for a live show and you should be the ones getting it.
yeah. I think I'm coming around to agreeing with you on that. I don't know, maybe we could do highlights
I
and
like I
release
like
as
the
an
idea. I
episode.
like the idea, and again, we've always said we put stuff behind a paywall, but I do like the idea of doing a highlights set for the Ko-fi subscribers because you've already put that content behind a paywall because it was a ticketed show to go to.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think we might talk about some more. We have discussed the fact that we might talk about some more um, sort of close to the edge topics. There's three or four things floating in the background that we would actually like to talk about. There's one or two that I think we don't want to talk about or we can't talk about. There's three or four that we'd love to fucking put the boot in on, but it's just a bit like I don't really want to fall out with the whole music industry. I don't want to fall out with that festival or that booking agent or that ex-promoter who's a fucking lunatic. And we've got the best stories about in the world, but we can't quite tell them. Do you not? Do you know what I mean? We'd love to talk about
I didn't know we were going there, James. This is going to get spicy.
them. So you know,
Make sure you get your Bristol tickets, guys.
yeah, oh, fucking hell. Yeah, and yeah, and as you say, that could we could do that specific to certain towns at times. I think what we're going to do in the new year is we're going to sit down and sort of plan, make a better plan of exactly how we're going to run those live shows. We kind of already know that it will be a set with a drinks intermission, followed by another set, followed by an early finish, so that we can all have a beer together in the bar. But yeah, how we structure it around content and questions and stuff, we're pretty open to, and every night is definitely going to be different. And I've got a bunch of stuff. You know, we've got a bunch of personal stories about gigs and where I've lived in London, I've lived in Bristol, I've been to millions of gigs in Manchester, loads of gigs in Birmingham as well. And so we've got a bunch of stuff where
Yeah.
we'll
And
make
it,
it
and then
specific to the
the
town.
fan interaction, I mean, you get set off on a tangent straight away because once the first question comes in and it's obviously different for the question you'll get anybody else. So yeah, they are going to be different. I feel that we will probably take a break from the weekly pods. This is terrible that we're not chatting to each other these days. So whatever, like just
No, but
fucking
it's called Two Promoters One Pod, isn't it? We're talking at the end of the day, we've let everyone into our innermost thoughts on every fucking part of our job, and this is just another part, isn't it? I walk down the street going, "Oh my fucking God, Bristol's the first show." I'm going to walk out to do my first, well, it feels like the first ever one, even though we did the festivals.
Yeah,
First ever live show in front of fucking friends and family in Bristol. Like,
yeah, yeah. Aye. So
it's
I
better
think
for you. I'd rather be you. You get to walk out in front of a load of strangers. That's easier, I think.
what I would ask is obviously Manchester's gone, Birmingham sold out, Bristol, Glasgow, and London don't have a lot of tickets left. We are now in a home city tussle because obviously Bristol or Glasgow probably the one to fall next. I'd very much like that to be Glasgow, but I want with that caveat being Slay's fucking huge, right? It is bigger than the fucking Hen and Hut or whatever it is you've got is in Bristol. So I want to, well, if Bristol falls first, that to be recognised. In that case, or else Team James wins again.
I don't think you're even fucking correct, are you? I mean, I don't think it's even bigger. Look, Bristol, come on. This is good competition, actually. I like this, Gav. Let's get Bristol sold out first. I can see the ticket list. So as in, I can see the names. I know who's bought a ticket and who hasn't bought a ticket. There's still some people to buy tickets, definitely. Come on,
Come on,
let's do
people,
it.
show your hand. So yes, I hope that we kind of lost our way a wee bit there. Jeff
The
Crosdale.
answer is we don't know, isn't it?
The
We don't know
answer
what the
that,
fucking we don't know what the tour content's going to be yet. And part of
but
the best bit about this podcast is the spontaneity. So a lot of it will be.
yeah. And in terms, we're not recording, is it 8 shows, 7 or 8 shows we're doing? We're not recording 7 or 8 and putting them out, basically, is the answer to you. The first and foremost, the answer to your question. There probably will be a 2 week break in the pods for when we're going to do that as well, so we don't just fucking run ourselves into the ground. So, but we'll decide. Like everything else, we will decide. Quick shout out to our good friends at Meliora, the app that is used by Damnation, I believe Bloodstock, and our good friends at Radar seem to be involved. Hope to see their app getting launched soon as well. If you would also like an affordable app, if you're a independent festival who doesn't want to pay the big bucks for it but wants to get a product that's just as professional, Meliora.events is where to go. Get in touch with myself even if you, and I'll put you through to Darren and we can get that sorted. Thanks for the backing as always.
Lovely stuff. Shall we do on the record?
Yes, we shall.
Okay, I'm going to choose the song Pastoral Existence by the band Other Half. They played Arctangent in 2023. They played Trees in 24. Um, very much not my usual type of listening. They describe themselves, I think, quite correctly as post-hardcore crossed with indie rock. They're a UK band. They sound American, I think. It's that sort of Fugazi sound. Very, very American sound. Not in like a fucking Limp Bizkit way, in a cool American underground way. That I wasn't expecting. I did the album in our book club, and I wasn't expecting to love it. I was just wanted to see what I thought of it, and it's really, really fucking good. Yeah, quite laid back, quite for something that you would call post-hardcore. It's not fucking in your face and frantic. It's like a chilled at the drive-in or something like that.
Okay.
So I really like it. One quick thing I wanted to say is I told Kev, who from Big Scary Monsters, who also helps us out with the podcast merch, um, how much I like the album. He then sent me a truckload of vinyl, which was very kind of him, and he said he'd set up a promo code on the Big Scary Monsters store with the code amazing. So if you put in the code amazing, bastard, you get 10% off. Now he sent me like a new Ruben release, fucking awesome. Something by the band Color. He sent me the new Other Half album. I I fucking love Big Scary Monsters and I love Kev. So if you want a Christmas present, use the code amazing, and off you go.
Amazing.
Thanks for sending me the vinyl, mate.
Amazing indeed. And Kev, if you just need my address, mate, we can sort this out. I mean, I can sort you an address and send me some vinyl. Send me some fucking good shit from whatever that warehouse factory you've got. So, aye, that's fucking great, James. I'm glad. I'm glad you're getting looked after, mate.
Mate, I'm really getting looked after, aren't I? I mean, and now people know if they send me stuff, I mention it on the podcast. I've, I'm like, I properly arrived. This is like the best thing. I
This,
got
you're
a
like,
metal book and some vinyl.
you
Fucking
should have
yes.
told me this at the start, Gav, that we just should plug shit and just get stuff sent to us for free. That would have got me on board more than selling tickets
I'd
for
have
my
been in.
festivals. I
Absolutely.
looked at on the record, I was like, right, okay, well, we need, there's some absolute bangers that we just don't have on here that need to be here. And the Maybe She Wills, not for want of trying, is up there at the very top. I mean, Jesus, I talk about post rock so much. This is as good as it gets as a tune. It's the heavier stuff from the previous albums, basically. It's been a long time since they released this, and it's great. Maybe She Will are arguably the UK's best example of post metal, post rock, and a fucking tremendous band. And they're the band that, if you're ever going to see them, Art Tangent is the place to. Like, I always bang on about like an Athrak or a Carcass or a Dragged Into Sunlight being built for Damnation. Maybe She Will were built for Art Tangent. If you caught their headline set in the second stage, I mean, last year or the year before, it was the set of the weekend. I can't say anything but great things about this band, and this is a great. If you still to check them out after all these years, this is the way in it. They've got that famous sample from what is it? It's not a Great Dictator. Fuck, I forget. I should have really checked what that sample is. Like, there's gangs running wild everywhere, and punks and no one knows what to do about it. So that was quite good,
Mate,
eh?
that was worth sitting here for an hour and a half just to hear you in a Scottish accent do an American accent. Lovely.
So yes, and listen, the greatest treat of this is James is going to add them, so that on the record is going to be updated by the time you hear on Thursday morning the podcast. You're on the record will already be there. So go and like or follow or whatever it is you do with the playlist. That will be ready and waiting for you. If it's not, please abuse him online. Please get on top of him. He leaves everything to me and he's now taking on a responsibility. I really feel that he should be held accountable for it. So get on his back, especially over Christmas and New Year.
Yes, mate. And next week, I'm very excited to say, is our album of the year show.
Our album of the year show.
Fucking yes. It's
And
something I've always dreamed of being able to do on a podcast, and now I can.
this is a David and Goliath effort because I mean, you're built for this. This is your world. I am literally gonna, I mean, we've picked a good year for it. I think if I tried to do this with you last year, the year before, I would have struggled badly. I take so long to get round to new music, which might be surprising, but I just locked in. I'm still the guy that listens to Mariner when I should really be listening to the new post metal album. So this year's been a good one. I won't go too much into any of the bands I've been listening, but I just need to get that last. I feel like I've got the top 6 or 7 in place. I just need to get the last sort of 3 fixed in, and it's annoying because not annoying, but it's confusing because you've got the Damnation's album of the year for the forum, which is an amazing thread, which Graham Smith, the moderator, sorts for us, and then you catch like I know 15 other albums you haven't heard yet that you know you will like Respire, for example. I saw as soon as I saw Respire there, who I caught at Art Tangent a couple of years back and thought they were incredible. Like, I guarantee I love that album. So I only heard it for the first time last night, and I'm like, already fucking love it. So where does that? I mean, how many listens can I get in before we sit down and do this album? And can they crack the top 10? And aye, I'm looking for it. It's been good. I've enjoyed it, and we'll let you get all geeky and enjoy it too, pal.
It is a mad time of year, isn't it? With the when everyone else is telling you what's great, and I'm always frantically trying to be like, fuck, because like there's a record by a band called Ulcerate,
Yeah,
weird death metal band,
yeah,
and Miles told me about it. My mate Al was fucking loving it. And then I listened to the That's Not Metal review, and I had listened to this album and thought, yeah, it's good, fine, I like it, and then moved on. And everyone keeps going on about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've actually missed something here. I've this is better than I realized, and I've
yeah,
got to go back. So I'm like, I'm now this week I'm basically plowing back in
yeah.
and fucking being like, this album's really fucking good. Not gonna make the top 10, but yeah.
Oh, good, good. I'm looking forward to it. Aye, it'll be if you get the 17-hour That's Not Metal version when they go into like the exact sound of the pedal and the drums there. That will not be my version of a top 10. I'm like, it's fucking banging. Go and listen to it.
Yeah.
That's how I describe the music. So aye, let's have a couple of drinks. Looking forward next couple of weeks. Let's have fun. It's fucking Christmas. Let's get festive. Do you have a Christmas jumper? Do you just put some tinsel in about that fucking shirt of yours, or what
Mate,
do you
I
do?
have got, you're going to fucking hate this. I've got Christmas jumpers. I've got a Ghost Christmas jumper, an Iron Maiden Christmas jumper, and a Black Sabbath Christmas jumper.
Oh, Sabbath one we
So
can accept.
they will be coming with me.
Right, good, good. We could that. And the last thing, that reminder for Kofi, get involved, support us, guys. We appreciate it. There is I mean, Ian Shaw. Ian Shaw subscribes. We have an agent who has come over from the dark side and has paying his £4 a month. So if Ian Shaw can do it, you can do it. Believe in yourself.
What a legend.
Link will be in wherever the fuck our links are. So brilliant. Pleasure once again. Looking forward to this Christmas from you, pal.
Absolutely. Cheers, mate.
Thanks soon.